Hey folks, so there are a lot of people that are getting their hopes up and counting on a red wave or a red tsunami in the midterms coming up this November. In this video, I'm going to talk about why I don't think a red wave is going to save America. I'll get into that in a minute, but before I do, I saw a video clip on online a couple of days ago that got me to thinking about this subject, and I want you to watch this. I cut it down to a very short subject, just the key takeaway from the overall clip, and I want you to listen to this before I get into and explain why I think a red wave won't save America. It won't do much of anything, but check this out, folks.
And I think the president sees the writing on the wall. Here's a quote, what he said regarding November. He said, if we lose the House and we lose the Senate, it's going to be a really difficult 2 years. I'll spend more time with the veto pen. That's an understatement, that it would be 2 difficult years for not only him, but also the Democrats in Congress as well, because suddenly with the Republicans, particularly in power in the House, I know you guys want to launch investigations. You want to get some legislation done, because for the last year and a half, not so much.
Okay, so there you have it. Biden himself has said that he is, in the event of a red wave, he will be spending a lot of time with his veto pen. All right, so let's play devil's advocate here. Just for argument's sake, let's assume there is a red wave. Republicans take control of the House and the Senate, and they start trying to draft a bunch of legislation to reverse course on the direction the Democrats and the left have taken this country in the last 2 years. Will they get anything done? I don't believe they will. Even assuming that they do draft some really good legislation, that legislation then has to go to Biden. Biden has already said he's going to be spending a lot of time with the veto pen. He's planning on vetoing anything Republicans send his way. Anything that doesn't fall in line with the socialist agenda of the Democrats or the left, and even some rhinos, because some rhinos are socialist. Don't get me wrong on that. That's why they're called rhinos. Republicans in name only. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you're not a socialist, as we've seen over the past few years. But anything that they draft that would change direction and lead the country in a more conservative path would be vetoed by Biden, because it would have to go to his desk to be signed. And so nothing's going to be done that way. Now, another thing that the Republicans have talked about is their desire to start investigations into Biden, into Hunter Biden, the laptop, Biden's use of the Department of Justice to attack and smear and criminalize anything that Republicans do. You're basically seeing the military, or the weaponization of the FBI and the DOJ against political opponents, and anything that they try to do to impeach him. If they, let's just say they investigate him, they impeach him, and let's say, unlike what happened to Trump and what happened to Bill Clinton, let's say they actually not only impeach him, but actually convict him of the charges. And Biden is removed from office. Well, what does that leave? The next person in line to become president is who else? Kamala Harris. She herself, just like Biden, is very anti-American and anti-Constitution. Despite what you might hear her say or him say during their speeches, where they try to claim that they love America and they love the Constitution, just about everything they've done has been unconstitutional. So if Biden is removed from office, that leaves Kamala Harris. Okay, she's not going to be any different than Biden. She will veto anything the Republicans send to her desk. So the only thing that I see is a stalemate where the Democrats are no longer able to send through and ram through a bunch of these massive spending bills, this endless money printing without Republican support, and a bunch of these socialist bills that have been rammed down our throats for the past 2 years. Democrats and socialist rhinos are not going to be able to ram that stuff through then, because the conservative aspect of the Republican Party would stop that. Now, on the flip side of that, nothing that the conservative Republicans could draft and send through to Biden or Harris would get signed. It would actually get vetoed. So you're going to have a stalemate on both sides of this. Nothing is going to get done. So the only option then is to look at 2024 at the presidential election. Now, and this is all assuming that, let's assume for a minute that the Republicans had seized control of, or had gained control, let's use that word, because we know what the left would say about that choice of words. Let's just assume Republicans had gained control of the House and the Senate during the midterms, and that they maintained that control into and beyond the 2024 election. All right, and let's just say, for argument's sake, that a Republican president is elected, whether it's Trump or DeSantis or somebody else. Let's just say, sorry for walking around. I've got a bunch of mosquitoes flying around me. That's crazy. They really love me out here, I'll tell you. Unless there's a Republican majority in the House, the Senate, and a Republican president, the Republicans aren't going to be able to send anything through. It's just not going to happen. And if you look through history, the history of the United States, my neighbors can be really annoying sometimes, you know what? I wish I lived further out in the country. What was my train of thought? Anyway, unless Republicans control the House, the Senate, and have a Republican president, nothing's going to get done. But if you look through the history of the United States, it's been Republican, well, in recent decades, it's been Republican, Democrat, maybe a couple, 2 consecutive terms or whatever, but it flip-flops back and forth. Now, if Trump got elected in 2024, one thing to keep in mind is he's already served one term. So he's only got 4 more years to serve, thanks to term limits, which we should have on every member of the House and the Senate. That should be passed right away, but you know it won't be. But he would only have 4 more years. There's not a lot that he could do in 4 years. Now, if the Republicans controlled both the House and the Senate, and Trump was in office, they could get a lot done. They could ram through a whole bunch of stuff, just like the Democrats have for the past 2 years. And just like the Republicans have been screaming for the past 2 years about how unfair it is, if the Republicans did that, the Democrats would be shouting about how unfair it is, how wrong it is. It's a dictatorship. It's tyrannical and all kinds of crap like that. You know that's the kind of game they play. It's all right as long as they do it, but as soon as your political rivals do it, suddenly it's tyrannical. So there's hypocrites on both sides. But as I was saying, he's only got 4 more terms, unless somebody like DeSantis gets elected, and then there's the potential for 2 terms. But in a single term, there's not much that can be done unless you have full control of the House and Senate, in addition to the White House. That's just the way our government was designed. It's the way it was designed on purpose to prevent any one party from having too much power. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough of a safeguard because, as we've seen over the past 2 years, the Democrats have railroaded policies through without any regard to the other side of the aisle or what it would do to the country. It's all a political game for power and money. But even if DeSantis won, assuming he ran for president, or any other Republican won, and he got 2 terms, or she got 2 terms, still the same thing would happen. You would get certain things done, but if you look at recent history, what's the first thing that Biden did? What's the first thing that Biden did when he got into office? The first thing he did was he spent the first month of his term in office trying to undo everything Trump had done. If Trump or DeSantis or whoever wins on the Republican side wins the election in 2024, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to spend the first month or so writing executive orders, just like Joe Biden, and trying to undo everything Biden has done. And let's go out a little bit further and say that what happens in 2028. Let's just say Trump wins in 2024. He's only got 4 years, so in 2028, there's another election and a Democrat wins this time. What's going to happen then? Well, naturally, just like Joe Biden, they're going to go and they're going to spend the first few months trying to undo everything that Trump did in his second term. This is all hypothetical, but this is exactly what would happen. I'm not saying I'm endorsing any of this, but this is exactly how things would go. This is what I see happening. So you're in a situation where there's this constant back and forth. One side wins, they make some advances, their opponent wins the next term, all those advances are undone, and that political candidate or elected official pushes things the other direction. The next time, the next election, the other party's candidate wins. They undo the previous administration's work, and then push in the opposite direction. So you're constantly going back and forth. It's a tug of war, so to speak. So in the end, you spend all your time undoing what your opposition has done, and then trying to get some of your own stuff done in a very limited amount of time, usually with a lot of resistance from the House and the Senate. So not a lot of headway is made. Unfortunately, the way that everything's set up, Democrats have had more time in office, or at least it seems, than Republicans. And as a result, they've had more time to do things, particularly in the past 2 years where they've had control of everything. The House, Senate, and the White House. So they've been able to ram through all of their agendas, with the exception of gun control, which they haven't been able to get through as much as they would have liked. But that hasn't stopped them from trying, and they have made advances in that regard. So, regardless of who wins what election, this is what I see us looking at. It's going to be a constant tug of war, one side undoing the other's work, and then trying to take it to the left, and then the other side trying to undo the left's work, trying to take it back to the right, and it's just, we're weaving back and forth on this road that we're on. Like a drunk driver, out of control, weaving back and forth, and what's going to happen, at some point that drunk driver is going to have an accident. The car is going to crash. We're going to hit a tree, we're going to hit a sign, we're going to hit another vehicle. However you want to look at it, we could drive off a cliff or hit a tree, which I equate with an economic collapse, possibly brought on by a civil war, or vice versa. A civil war brought on by an economic collapse. If you hit another car, you could relate that analogy to us going to war with another country. And in the current context of global politics, that country would be, actually those countries would be Russia and China, in which case it's going to be very devastating to the United States. So this is why I don't think a red wave in November is going to save America. At the best case scenario that I can think of, there is a red wave, and this socialist agenda that's been rammed down our throats for the past 2 years slows down to a crawl. But nothing will get reversed, because we'll have a Democrat, a socialist Democrat, not even a moderate. I can deal with moderate Democrats, because with most moderates I can agree on things. With a socialist Democrat, I can't agree with them on nearly anything at all. And with a socialist Democrat in the White House, you won't be able to get any advance towards liberty. It's all going to be towards socialism. Or it's going to be a stalemate and nothing's going to get done. There is another side to this. If the Republicans fail to have a red wave, there's no red wave, there's no red tsunami, and the Democrats, by some fluke, or shenanigans, I'm trying to find the right way to put it, the Democrats find some way of maintaining control of the House and the Senate through the midterms, and then Biden is still in office. Well, instead of slowing the socialist agenda down to a crawl, they're going to stomp on the gas. We're going to be doing 120 miles an hour towards the nearest cliff face. That's what I see. because all of these policies that have been pushed by the Democrats, by Biden, are unsustainable. They make no sense. They're reckless, and they're going to cause damage. You can't keep spending billions and billions and billions of dollars, despite what the Democrats think. You can't spend that kind of money. You can't print that kind of money without devaluing your dollar. And for all those people that say, well, the dollar's not being devalued, it's getting stronger, that's bull. The more you have of something, the less value it has. That's simple, basic economics. The more you have of something, the less value it has. The only reason it looks like the dollar is stronger is because everybody else is going through similar issues. And because a lot of the numbers that are being put out by the Fed and the Biden administration are manipulated to make it look like it's not as bad as it actually is. New numbers came out yesterday or today. Inflation for August is at 8.3%. Last month it was at 8.5%. Democrats are actually cheering that inflation is going down. A 0.2% drop in inflation is nothing to brag about, particularly when inflation is still at 8.3%. And if you actually look at the numbers the way they should be looked at, it's not 8.3%, it's more like 25 to 30%, because they've manipulated the formula so much that what they use to calculate the inflation rate doesn't even work anymore. So it's all a sham, it's all a lie. We can't keep printing this kind of money and not suffer from it. So that's why I don't think a red wave will save America. I don't see anything good happening. At the very best, again, like I said, at the very best, we might slow things down to a crawl, but it's still going to be moving forward because they've already approved billions of dollars, and that money is yet to be spent. A lot of that money is yet to be spent. It hasn't even entered the system yet, and it will. Best case scenario, it slows down a little bit, you buy you some time. Worst case scenario, they stomp on the gas and we go from 90 to 120, and we have less time than we thought. Regardless of what happens during the midterms, don't count on Republicans and a red wave to save you. We're in a very unsustainable position. We're on the edge of a severe economic crisis that will make the Great Depression look like a holiday. I can't think of any other way to describe it. It's not going to be good. It's going to look so much worse than it's going to be so much worse than the original Great Depression. And there's a couple of reasons for that, and I'm going to save that for another video, because there's a video I want to do on that, which also ties into the video I mentioned on my last upload about the multiple streams of income. So, folks, don't count on the Republicans to save you. Don't count on any politician to save you, because they can't. And even if they could, they probably wouldn't. Politicians are going to do what's in their best interest to maintain their power, their money, and what happens to you is not their concern. They might say it is, they don't care. There might be a handful out of all of them that actually do care, but understanding the system the way I do, a lot of them that do care, a lot of the ones that actually do care and would like to make a difference, their hands are tied. They can't because of the way Washington is set up. So it's not going to change. Not for the better anyway. So keep prepping, keep stacking food, stack water, learn to garden, develop skills, learn to garden, learn to grow your own food, learn to produce your own food, raising livestock. Network with people in your community, in your neighborhood. Meet people that you can trade with, that you can barter with, for food, for supplies, for skills. Develop your own skill set so that you have something to trade with. Skills are the one source of wealth that nobody can take from you. People might be able to take your guns, people might not be able to take your silver or your gold or your food or what have you, but they can't take what's up here. The knowledge you have up here, the understanding, the ability that's been honed through practice, people can't take that away from you, no matter what they do to you. You still have that knowledge. Whether or not you can apply it is another matter, but you still have that knowledge. So that is the most valuable prep, in my opinion, that anyone can have, is a skill set. And the more skill sets you have, the more invaluable you become as an individual. The more invaluable you become to a group of people. You can trade that skill set for food, you can trade it for medicine, you can trade it for items to help you survive, to help you thrive. So it's all about those skills, folks. But develop those skills, develop the network, stack food, stack water, develop your own way of producing food. Livestock, even if it's just a couple of rabbits, a couple of chickens, some quail. If you have a pond on your property, stock it with fish. Learn to hunt, learn to forage. Don't rely on hunting and foraging, because as we saw during the original Great Depression, the deer population was nearly wiped out, squirrel population was nearly wiped out. So you're not going to be able to count solely on that. Hence, you've got to produce your own food. That's also why you stack food. You stack it to the rafters. Not so that you live off of it and supplement it with hunting, foraging, and gardening. You hunt, forage, garden, and raise livestock and supplement it with your food preps. The preps are there to get you through the lean times of producing your own food, not to live off of while you sometimes produce food. So understand that there's a difference there. Water is critical. You need to have plenty of water, not only for cooking, but for hygiene. You need to have multiple sources of water. You need to have multiple ways of filtering that water. Have your defensive tools. The items you need to defend yourself from all these criminals that the left keeps wanting to turn loose onto the entire country. I've seen article after article about how Democrat politicians are talking about releasing violent criminals, not charging violent criminals. Criminals are not being charged for violent crimes. Police aren't going out and arresting them for specific crimes. You need to be able to have the tools to provide for your own security and your own defense. And this is not just the tactical stuff, the body armor, the weapons, the ammo, and all that stuff. Think in terms of securing doors and windows. Think in terms of lighting, solar lights that automatically come on when something moves in the yard. Security cameras. Have trail cameras that you can put up in the yard, and you check them every so often just to see what's going on around you. Walk around your property on a regular basis. A lot of people live in their house in their driveway and they only see their backyard maybe once or twice a week. Don't be like that. Get out in your yard, walk around your house, pay attention to what's going on in your neighborhood. Speaking of your neighborhood, drive around your neighborhood. Take a day or a few minutes a couple of times a week. Drive around the different roads in your neighborhood, in your community. A mile or two out from your house, just roads that you don't normally go down. People get in the habit of driving the same roads to and from work, to and from the grocery store. Break from that habit. Take different roads. Learn what's happening on those roads. What people do you see? Who lives out there? What kind of traffic is out there? What kind of activity is out there? Get familiar with your surrounding area. Don't be one of these people that stay shut in your house all the time and think you, just because you've got a gun and some ammo and a plate carrier, that you're good to go. You've got to think bigger. Security is about not only securing where you live, but securing your areas, understanding what's going on around you, knowing the threats that exist, and preparing for those threats. Making plans on how to deal with certain threats when they arise. These are the things you should be doing now. That's all I've got. I just wanted to cover that real quick, because I guess it wasn't real quick since I'm at what, almost 40 minutes now, I think. So that's what you need to be focusing on now. Keep doing those things. Keep prepping. Don't let up. I understand it. There's people get burned out prepping. I understand that. And it's easy to get complacent, but you have to keep at it. Don't kill yourself at it. Don't overwork yourself. Don't stress yourself out at it, but keep making progress. Keep adding to your preps. And your preps include your skills. Don't forget that. Train with your defensive tools. Train with your medical tools. Learn how to use them. You never know when you might need medical skills. There's a lot of places that offer medical classes geared towards preppers. Look into those. Patriot Nurse is one that I know of. There's a lot of others. Patriot Nurse actually offers an online class that you can take from the comfort of your home at your own pace. I haven't taken it. I can't vouch for the quality of it. It's something I've been looking at doing when I can, but I have some medical training, so that hasn't been my priority. Although I do need to brush up on my skills. But again, just stay busy, stay active, keep making progress. Don't get complacent, and do whatever you can to get ready, because I promise you, no matter who wins the election, even if it's red all the way, like a lot of people are hoping, it's not going to save America. We're on a path that I don't think can be reversed at this point. And you need to be ready for whatever comes. So do what you got to do to be able to take care of yourself and your family. With that, that's all I've got. I appreciate you guys watching. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, folks, take care.